Ray McGuire died this morning at Russell Medical Center in Alexander City. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing that service. In other obituary news this morning, Mrs. Lee Miller died at Russell Medical Center last night. Curtis & Son Funeral Home will announce the arrangements. Funeral service for Dora Adair of Sylacauga. That visitation will be on Tuesday at Childersburg Church of God. Actually, that will be on Wednesday at Childersburg Church of God from 1 until 2 o'clock. The funeral service begins at 2 at Childersburg Church of God. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel, directing. Also in obituary news this morning, funeral service for Mr. Paul Turner will be held on January the 11th. Visitation 12 to 2 at Curtis & Son North, with the funeral service at 2 at the North Chapel, and burial in the Bluff Spring Cemetery. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, in charge of the arrangements. Betty Twyman, funeral service for Betty Twyman will be Tuesday at 1 p.m. from Community Funeral Home in Sylacauga. Burial in the Tallahatchie Cemetery of Childersburg. Visitation today, 1 until 7 o'clock at the funeral home. Community Funeral Home directing. Perry Delaney, age 71, died January the 5th. A memorial service will be held at Ohatchee Church of Christ today at 6 p.m. In lieu of flowers, the family has requested a donation be made to the Ronald McDonald House or St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Online condolences at urseryfuneralhome.com. Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega, in charge of the arrangements. Mr. Delaney was a graduate of Lincoln High School in 1968. He was also a longtime member of the Ohatchee Church of Christ, and he loved his church family. Ursery Funeral Home, Talladega, directing. Helen Phillips, age 75, of Childersburg, died Friday, January the 7th. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home and Crematory, Talladega, directing. And Douglas Simmons, age 88, died January the 7th. Funeral arrangements to be announced by Terry's Metropolitan Mortuary in Talladega. Mrs. Janet Goss, age 61, of Childersburg, died this morning at Coosa Valley Medical Center. Funeral arrangement to be announced by Radley Smith Funeral Home in Sylacauga. That is a look at obituaries this morning, brought to you by Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg. For pre-need funerals, burials, or cremation since 1975, Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg.